Through howls of wind and showers of rain, a piper's creed proclaims to pipe on. On this St. Patrick's Day, let's welcome J.D. Ingram and Mary Schultens of the Charleston Pipe Band on this week's Spotlight Music Series. So good to have you with us. Anybody who's ever gone to the Gilliard during the Charleston Pops holiday concerts will see you perform. There's just something so palpable about Gaelic piping music. So how did you fall in love with it, J.D.?
I actually started as a teenager. I saw the 9/11 attacks happen, and I saw bagpipers playing for all the memorial services in New York, and I thought, that's a really cool instrument that's so emotional. It's part of this big national thing, the zeitgeist of 2001, 2002. And so I asked my parents to find me lessons. It took them a little bit, because who knows bagpipers, right?
Right.
But I found lessons, and I've been playing since 2002 now.
That's incredible. And you make an excellent point, because there is something about bagpipe music that is actually quite melancholy. It can bring a lot of pride into, the situation, but it also, as it's played during funerals and things like that. For you, Mary, tell us about your journey to learning how to pipe.
Well, I started out on piano, like many musicians do, and then I moved to clarinet, and then I got a couple degrees in music school, music ed, and clarinet performance. And then I was playing in the Charleston Community Band, another great local organization. And I could hear the Citadel Pipe Band sometimes practice while we were also practicing at the Citadel. Mm-hmm. And that just piqued my interest, and it just was sort of in the back of my mind. And then just things converged, and I saw an advertisement for lessons, and I thought, okay, it's now or never. I'm going to do this.
And how long have you been playing the bagpipes?
About 10 years, 12 years. You start on a practice chanter.
Mm-hmm. And what is that like?
It's like a recorder / oboe.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
It's this without that.
So let's talk about the anatomy of a bagpipe, shall we? Okay, so share with us. What are we looking at?
Well, the bag, of course,
yes,
gives it its name. We have 5 pipes coming out of the bag. There's the chanter, which makes most of the melody. The blow stick, which has a one-way valve. You're keeping the bag full, and that's all you're doing with your mouth. And then the drones, which are these 3 pipes, which play a fixed chord. So if you're a pianist or something like that, you might play a chord with your left hand. It's just one chord, though, so we only have one key.
And we were talking about this before we got started. I said it's like patting your head and rubbing your stomach at the same time. So how do you get used to the coordination?
Surprisingly quickly.
Do you really?
Yeah, I think it's more uncomfortable for people to watch you do it and have it not fit the phrase of the music. That's disturbing for some people if they're musical or they, and then they say, how do you do that? That's always the first question. Mm-hmm. And actually you get used to that in about a week after you get their bag. You don't think about it anymore.
People say you must be faking it because you took a breath and the sound didn't stop.
Oh, I see. Okay. And so you fill the bag up with air, and how long does that last you before you have to keep breathing into the bag and feeding air?
Never long enough.
Yeah, 10 seconds maybe.
Yeah. So how do you get used to that portion of it? Because I imagine you develop some pretty strong lungs.
Yeah, lung capacity is definitely.
It just takes effort. I'm like a swimmer, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You develop your lung capacity over time. First time I blew them up, I had to lay down on the floor and watch the room spin.
Right. You start to see stars and spots, But you also, I love that you incorporate the entire culture of the bagpipe with the kilt and everything else. So is that an obligatory uniform that you must wear if you're bagpiping?
For certain events.
Yeah.
So when we go to games, which actually, that's kind of a misnomer. I mean, sure, they're fun, but it's a very competitive atmosphere. So it's a test of your endurance and your preparation as a band member competing in a unit or as a soloist. And so that is always required at those events. And our judges are also all dressed in the traditional dress. It's a sign of respect.
Certainly, and you do a wonderful job. So the Charleston Pipe Band is a nonprofit organization, so you spread information and education on the Gaelic culture itself. You're actually going to be performing for us here today after the break, but before we do that, you do have some upcoming shows. So you're going to be at the Charleston St. Patrick's Day parades and various other appearances, and you've got a whole calendar full of things coming up in the next few months. So we're going to make sure to put that information up on our screen. What are you going to be playing for us when we come back?
We're going to play what we call our Irish set. It starts with a tune called Dawning of the Day. Some people call it Raglan Road, or I forget the Irish name for it, but it's something I can't pronounce very well.
Gaelic is very difficult, and you'll be introducing another member of your band. And who is this?
Our drummer today is Rod. He is one of our newest drummers, but he's also quite accomplished. He's one of our leading drummers now, because he's been playing drums for a long time, but he's new to the Scottish style. He learned to play with us just last year.
I can't wait. We're very excited to hear that. We're going to do that in 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere.